I use the same paper package for this card as well. Okay, so there's some pieces and parts. So for this card, what we have is an early espresso card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5. You can see I've already got the inside, but the white layer for the inside, 4 by 5.25. The designer series paper. Now this paper is only single-sided, so just so you're aware of that. This is a 4 by 4, and then my piece of white here is a 3.5 by 3.5. You're also going to get the other pattern in that paper pack as a 1/2 by 5.25, a 1/2 by 5.25 of cherry cobbler, a scrap of mossy meadow for some die cutting, and I just found some more of this adhesive backed glimmer paper in my stash of stuff, and you're going to get some of that too, because we're going to need to do a little bit of die cutting out of that. So what we have here are, you're going to need these 2 little gold pieces out of this self-adhesive paper. Then we're going to need some Mossy Meadow ink on our Mossy Meadow scrap. So we're going to ink up this little, I think these are Pussy Willows. I think, I'm not positive, but I think they are. So we're going to get 2 little Pussy Willows stamped there. And then there is a die in the set that will cut those out. So we will have both of those done. Put that off to the side so I don't stick my hand on it or something. And then for the inside, you can sort of see what I've already done here. I have taken the large wreath piece, or half wreath, I guess it is, and I inked up both sides. So I inked up this side here, and I kind of stamped it right here, so about halfway, and then I inked up this side and did the same thing and stamped it over on the other side. So I have kind of, a little bit of wreath action there. And then I just colored the big leaves with a light mossy meadow marker, and then the little berries with light and dark cherry cobbler. And so then what we're going to do for this inside piece, our inside layer, is we're going to add a little bit of glue to this strip of cherry cobbler. Whoa, I am flicking things all over the place. And then I'm going to add my strip of designer series paper. So we're going to have, I don't know, maybe a 1/16 of an inch of the cherry cobbler showing, just, whatever you decide you like. Looks like my paper is a little longer, but that's okay. So then we're going to add a little glue at the bottom here. And then I'm going to add my designer series paper right at the bottom. And then I will have a little accent with the cherry cobbler also on that. So push that down so it's right at the bottom of the layer. Come on. And then that. And then we can snip off any excess, which I think I should have scooched it over a tiny bit, but I didn't. So we are going to cut off a tiny bit of that side and then a tiny bit of that side. And so that is going to be our inside piece. So I think that the designer series paper paired with the cherry cobbler strip, that really adds some to the inside, I feel like. Even if you don't put anything else inside your card, if you did something like that, that's kind of a wow factor, I feel like. Okay, so then on this piece of white, we're going to use our wreath piece. And I'm going to stamp that in some memento, but that is not my good memento pad. Hold on, here we go. So we're going to ink it up twice and stamp it twice. So get that nice and inky. And then I got to bring it down just a skosh so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm kind of trying to line it up at the top and side to side, so there's like equal distance on all sides. Okay, and then we're going to do that again. So we'll bring in our ink and our stamp. And I like to ink this. This is a bit of a larger stamp, so I like to place it rubber side up and then ink it up that way. For me, it's just easier. And then we'll do that same thing, just kind of line it up at the top and from side to side and stamp that one more time. And so then we've kind of completed a full wreath in a sense, and now we can just color it. And now this is also one that I'm not going to go too crazy on coloring all of it, but I'm going to use the light mossy meadow, and I'm only going to color in the large leaves. So any of these little skinny leaves for this project, I am not going to color. So I'm only going to color in these larger ones. And if I leave a little bit of white space, I'm not going to be upset about it. So now I'm going to take the dark and light cherry cobblers and we're going to do the berries. And so I'm going to do some berries light, some berries dark, just to kind of switch it up a little bit here. We have that. So we've got all this done so far. We've got our little die cut pieces. We do need a sentiment strip. So you're going to get a half by, what length is this? This is a half by something. I think it's 3. Yes, it's a half by 3 to do a sentiment on. Now you can do whatever you want, obviously. But here are some suggestions from me. So in this stamp set, there is a stamp that says thinking of you always. Now that is a very nice sentiment. I don't want to put the always on my card. So if I was going to do this, I would mask off always. And then I would ink this up in some early espresso and I would stamp it. I need to, whoops. This G hanging down is a bit of a bugger, but it works. So I need some scissors. So you just want to make sure that you're not covering up the thinking, but you want to cover up the always. Okay. There we go. So then what I would do is I would ink this up in the early espresso and make sure that it's nice and inky. And then you really need to be mindful of removing the tape. I've done it before where I didn't remove the tape. It doesn't work out nearly as well. In fact, I have it over here and I'll show you. Okay, so we're going to stamp this in the center of the strip as best we can, centering it like that. Or another recommendation for me to you is Merry Christmas. And there is a really nice Merry Christmas in the greetings of the season, which a lot of you probably have this, or you probably have your own sentiments. So this could be a really nice Christmas card. So either way, this is what happens if you don't remove the tape. You stamp it and then you stamp the tape also. And then of course that's not the look we're going for. So definitely remove the tape. So you could do thinking of you or Merry Christmas or any other little skinny sentiment that you had. But I think this is a great thinking of you or Christmas card. So I think I'm actually going to make mine. I think I'm going to go Christmas. Because the color combination, while it could definitely be used for anything else, it does, I guess, 'tis the season. And so it does kind of say Christmas to me a little bit. So we will go ahead and do that. All right. So we're going to add this to the edge of the card. So we're going to be centering it from top to bottom, and we want it to be equal distance on this side over here. So just a little bit different layout. And then we're going to add this piece, something like so. And I'm going to do that with some dimensionals. So let's get our dimensionals here. We'll go 1 in each corner and then 1 in the middle. Press a nail into that, and then these little guys literally just, the backing paper pops up and you can pull it off. Okay, so this is going to be centered from top to bottom, but then, wherever you want to put it. It could be, clear to the edge, it could be farther this way, whatever you want to do with it. Let me go ahead and throw this on the inside. And then you could add a nice inny sentiment to this as well, if you wanted to. There we go. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to peel the backing. Like I said, this is some of that older glimmer paper that we sold a while back. And I found some more of it. So I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to press this between my thumb and my first finger. And then I can just push my Take Your Pick tool in there and it will kind of pull off that. So we're going to set this about like that. And then do this. And this designer series paper, I mean, I hadn't really even used it. Of course, I always buy everything that comes out because I'm kind of a crazy person, but I always buy all the papers. I don't always buy everything that the papers go with. Like the papers, like they, certain collections go with certain papers. I don't always buy the collections, but I always buy all the paper. So, all right. So then these, unfortunately, are not self-adhesive. I guess they could be if I would have used adhesive sheets, but I didn't. And hopefully they will stick to the glimmer. They should, if we give it a second. Something like that. Okay. And then we're going to add our banner, like kind of across the middle of the thing here. So this is kind of, there's a lot of bulk here because I've got 4 pieces of paper stacked up. So I'm going to grab just a mini dimensional to put on the other end of that banner. Where are my mini dimensionals? Huh. Oh, here they are. They were upside down and they looked like a piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to add a mini dimensional to one end and then a little bit of glue to the other, and then this will stick to my banner pieces. So I'm going to try to center this, from top to bottom, not necessarily from side to side. Is that even, or does this need to be scooched down just a hair? Oops, that's way off. Let's try this. Something like that. Okay. Then I'm going to give you a little piece of our cherry cobbler and gold ribbon. So pretty. So tie a little bow with that. And then we're going to add that with a glue dot. And I'm going to add it just like right under the word Christmas here. Like that. Oh, love this card so much. Okay, now where's my gems? Now again, the gems can be colored. I did color some. Cherry cobbler here. This is a berry burst one, but I don't know as though I want to use that. Let me check and see what like just a plain one would look like here. If I just used some plains and we just kind of gently laid them down here. Maybe a big one. If we just kind of, I think they'll be all right because they're a little bit of a different color. They're kind of a little more like yellowy white, but I think they work. There we go. So look at that. So pretty. Now, like I said, you could use the Thinking of You and it would look just as amazing. Let's see, we can get our bow right up there. And either one, I think if you did use the Thinking of You, I'd probably move the bow up a little bit so it was not quite, so it would take up some of that white space. But again, you could use either or, and it would just be fantastic. So I'm going to go with the Merry Christmas.